The massive alien ship hung in space like a metal mountain. Its dark hull reflected the light from Earth's sun as it slowly moved toward Luna Station. Ambassador stood on the bridge of his vessel, looking down at the blue-green planet below. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the world that had caused such excitement in the Galactic Council. Humans, the species to break free from their home world and reach the stars. They had built their first faster-than-light ship only 50 Earth years ago. Now they had colonies on 12 worlds and trade routes that stretched across 2 sectors. It was impressive for such a young race. But impressive or not, they needed to learn their place in the galaxy. Skin changed from purple to deep blue, showing his serious mood. His aide, a smaller creature with 6 arms, approached him carefully. "Ambassador, the human delegation is waiting in the main conference room," the aide said in their clicking language. "Good, make sure the recording devices are working. The council will want to review this meeting." Turned away from the viewing port. His heavy footsteps echoed through the ship's corridors as he walked toward the conference room. The Luna Station diplomatic complex was a wonder of human engineering. Built into the moon's surface, it had rooms for meetings between different species. The air could be changed to match what each race needed to breathe. The gravity could be adjusted. The temperature could be set just right. Had to admit that humans were good at making others feel welcome. Secretary General sat at the curved table with 5 other humans. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm brown eyes. Her hands were folded on the table as she watched the alien delegation enter the room. Was not alone. Behind him came representatives from 12 other council species. There was General Thrax, whose warrior race had fought the council for 30 years before surrendering. There was Speaker Hive Mind 7 from the collective, their thoughts connected to billions of others across the galaxy. The ancient keeper Ra floated in a special chair, her race having been part of the council for over 10,000 years. "Secretary General," said in perfect English, "thank you for meeting with us." Ambassador replied with a small nod, "Welcome to Luna Station." Activated a holographic display above the table. Images of star maps, resource charts, and military data filled the air between them. "Let me begin with some history," the ambassador said. "For 8,000 Earth years, the Galactic Council has maintained peace and order across this galaxy. We have 47 member species. We have prevented wars, settled trade disputes, and protected younger races from threats they cannot handle alone." The humans listened without speaking. His face showed no emotion. When a species reaches the stars and proves they can survive in space, they are invited to join our community. But membership comes with responsibilities. Pointed to the holographic display. "Every new species must pay tribute. This shows respect for the order we have built. It proves they understand their place in galactic civilization." General Thrax stepped forward. The warrior was twice as tall as any human, covered in natural armor plates. "My people fought this requirement," he said in a deep, growling voice. "We lost many ships and many warriors before we learned wisdom. The tribute system brings stability." Asked her first question, "What kind of tribute do you require?" Speaker Hive Mind 7's voice came from a translation device. It sounded like 100 voices speaking together. "There are 3 options: raw materials, specifically rare Earth elements that are common on your worlds, or advanced technology, your quantum computing matrices show promise. Or military service, 100,000 of your soldiers to help us fight the void swarm on the galaxy's edge." "How much time do we have to decide?" asked David, the human defense minister. 30 cycles, about 90 of your Earth days, replied. "This is the standard time given to all species." Asked several more questions about delivery methods, exact quantities, and transport routes. The aliens answered each question carefully. They had done this many times before. Every species asked similar questions before accepting their role in the galactic order. Dr. Sarah, the human science advisor, wanted to know about the void swarm. Speaker Hive Mind 7 explained that they were creatures from another dimension that sometimes broke through into normal space. They consumed energy and matter, growing stronger with each attack. The Council's frontier forces held them back, but it required constant fighting. "Your human soldiers would serve for 10 years, General Thrax added. "Many would not return, but they would die with honor protecting civilized space." The questions continued for 2 hours. The aliens provided detailed answers about trade relationships, council membership benefits, and the legal framework that governed all member species. They explained how the tribute system had prevented wars and brought prosperity to the galaxy. Listened to everything. She took notes on a small device. She asked for clarification when needed. Her team did the same. When the presentation was finished, leaned back in his chair. "Do you have any other questions about our requirements?" "Not at this time," said. "Excellent, we will return to Council space and await your decision. Remember, you have 30 cycles." Stood up. "This is an important moment for your species. Choose wisely." The human delegation stood as well, walked around the table to face the ambassador directly. For a moment, expected her to give some indication of which option humanity might choose. Instead, she simply bowed her head slightly. "Thank you for explaining your requirements," she said. Then something strange happened. The humans began walking toward the door. All of them. David, Sarah, and the others simply left the room. No promises, no requests for more time, no indication that they planned to comply or refuse. Just silence. Watch them go, his skin shifting to a confused yellow color. In 8,000 years of council history, no species had ever responded like this. They always asked for time to discuss it with their leaders. They always wanted to negotiate the details. They always showed some emotion: fear, anger, resignation, or acceptance. But humans had shown nothing at all. "Should we follow them?" asked his aide. "No," said slowly. "Let them go. They need time to understand what we have offered them." As the alien delegation returned to their ship, none of them realized that they had just witnessed something new in galactic history. Humanity's first official response to the most powerful political organization in the known universe. Complete silence. The 30-cycle countdown had begun. 20 days had passed since the meeting at Luna Station. Ambassador sat in his private chambers aboard the Council flagship, staring at his communication device. The small screen showed the same message it had displayed for weeks. No response received. He had sent 14 messages to the human leadership, simple questions at first. "Have you made your decision?" Then more detailed explanations of the tribute options. Then warnings about the approaching deadline. Each message was properly formatted, sent through official channels, and delivered to the right people. None of them had been answered. His aide entered the room, carrying a data pad filled with reports. "Ambassador, the intelligence division has completed their analysis of human space." "What did they find?" asked, his skin turning a hopeful green. "Nothing unusual, sir. Human trade ships are following their normal routes. Their colonies are expanding farming areas and building new cities. Their exploration vessels are mapping star systems in the outer rim." The aide paused. "There is no sign that they are preparing tribute materials." "What about military activity?" "Also normal, sir. Their defense fleets are conducting routine patrols. No new ships are being built. No troops are being gathered for deployment." Skin shifted to a frustrated orange. "Are they preparing for war then?" "No, sir. Military intelligence reports that human forces are at normal peacetime levels. They have made no preparations for conflict." This made no sense. Every species in galactic history had reacted to the Council's tribute demand in predictable ways. They either began gathering the required materials or they prepared their armies for a hopeless fight. Some species tried to negotiate. Others begged for mercy. A few attempted to hide in distant systems. But no species had ever simply ignored the Council's existence. Activated his personal communicator and tried calling Secretary General directly. The connection went through the human communication networks and reached her office on Earth, but instead of a polite assistant answered. "Good morning, this is the Secretary General's office. How may I help you?" "This is Ambassador of the Galactic Council. I need to speak with Secretary General immediately about our previous meeting." "I'm sorry, but the Secretary General is in meetings all day. Would you like to leave a message?" "This is about the tribute requirement we discussed. It is urgent that I speak with her." "I understand, Ambassador. I'll make sure she gets your message. Have a good day." The connection ended. Stared at the silent device. Had the human just hung up on him? Had she really treated a direct communication from the Galactic Council like an unwanted sales call? Across the galaxy, other council members were having similar experiences. General Thrax had sent battle plans and honor codes to human military leaders, explaining how their soldiers would serve in the frontier wars. The messages were received but never acknowledged. Speaker HiveMind 7 had tried to connect with human-computer networks, hoping to establish direct communication. The humans had politely blocked the attempt with security protocols, treating the most advanced collective intelligence in the galaxy like a common virus. Even the ancient keeper Ra had sent traditional greeting ceremonies from her, trying to establish the formal diplomatic relationships that preceded tribute collection. The humans had responded by sending her a tourist brochure about visiting Earth. A tourist brochure. In the home system, General Thrax stood before a gathering of his finest warriors. They were discussing the strange behavior of the human species. "They show no fear," reported Commander, who had been monitoring human military communications. "Their soldiers speak of training exercises and leave rotations. They discuss weapons maintenance and supply logistics, but they never mention the Council's demands." "Perhaps they do not understand the seriousness of their situation," suggested another warrior. "Impossible," Thrax growled. "We explained everything clearly. We showed them the strength of Council fleets. We told them what happens to species that refuse to pay tribute." "Then maybe they are preparing in secret," said. "Where?" Thrax demanded. "Our sensors monitor every human world. Our spies watch their communication networks. There are no secret preparations. They are acting as if we never spoke to them at all." In the vast computational networks of the collective, millions of connected minds tried to understand human psychology. They analyzed every piece of human entertainment, every philosophical writing, every historical document they could access. The conclusion was disturbing. Speaker HiveMind 7 reported to the other council representatives through quantum communication links. "The human mind does not function like other species. They have a concept called civil disobedience. When they disagree with authority, they sometimes choose to ignore it completely." "That is impossible," responded Keeper Ra from her ancient. "Authority must be acknowledged even if it is challenged. Order requires recognition of hierarchy." "The humans appear to disagree with this basic principle," Speaker HiveMind 7 continued. "Their history shows multiple examples of entire populations refusing to cooperate with governments they considered illegitimate. They call it passive resistance." "But this is not their government," argued Ambassador. "This is the Galactic Council. We represent 47 species and control most of known space. The humans may not recognize that as giving us authority over them," Speaker HiveMind 7 replied. This idea was so strange that many council members had trouble understanding it. For thousands of years, the tribute system had worked because every species accepted the basic idea that the strong should rule the weak. New species might try to fight, but they always acknowledged that they were fighting against legitimate authority. The humans seemed to be saying that the council had no authority over them at all. With 15 days left before the deadline, the council called an emergency session. Representatives from all 47 member species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on the council. The massive chamber could hold thousands of beings, with special environments for species that breathed different gases or needed different gravity. Chancellor, the current leader of the council, stood at the central podium. His crystalline body reflected light in patterns that showed his deep concern. "Fellow members," he began, "we face an unprecedented situation. The human species has not responded to our tribute requirement." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some species expressed outrage. Others showed confusion. The delegation demanded immediate military action. "Perhaps they need more time," suggested the representative from the Peaceful Harmony worlds. "They have had nearly 3 weeks," Chancellor replied. "Most species respond within days." "Then they must be planning to refuse," declared General Thrax. "We should prepare for war." "Wait," said Keeper Ra, her ancient voice carrying across the chamber. "Before we act in haste, we should observe more carefully. This behavior is unusual. Perhaps we can learn something." "Learn what?" demanded the general. "They are being disrespectful. They think they can ignore the council's authority." "Yes," Ra said slowly. "That is exactly what they think. The question is why." The debate continued for hours. Some members wanted to send more ships to human space. Others suggested increasing the tribute demand to force a response. A few recommended sending cultural specialists to better understand human psychology. In the end, they decided to wait, but not patiently. The Council would send observation fleets to the edge of human space. They would monitor every human world, every ship, every communication. If the humans were planning something, the Council would discover it. What they did not expect was that the humans were planning nothing at all. As the emergency session ended and the representatives returned to there, one thing was clear to everyone. The tribute system that had maintained galactic order for 8,000 years was being challenged in a way no one had ever imagined. The humans were not fighting the Council. They were ignoring it. And somehow, that was more troubling than any army. The deadline came and went like any other day. Captain Ara of the Council Observation Fleet watched her instruments carefully as the final hours counted down. Her ship hung at the edge of the Sol system, monitoring every piece of human activity. 50 other Council vessels waited with her, their sensors pointed at Earth and the 12 human colonies. At exactly midnight Galactic Standard Time, the tribute deadline expired. Captain Ara expected to see something. Emergency meetings between human leaders, military ships moving into defensive positions, maybe even a last-minute attempt to gather tribute materials. Instead, she watched a human cargo ship deliver food, supplies to a mining station on Jupiter's third moon. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the human vessel." Ara's fins flattened against her head in anticipation. Finally, some kind of response. Put it through. A friendly human voice filled the bridge. "Good morning, unknown vessels. This is Captain Maria Santos of the merchant ship. You've been sitting out there for weeks now. Are you having engine trouble? Do you need assistance?" The bridge crew looked at each other in confusion. Ara checked her translation device to make sure she had heard correctly. "Repeat that transmission," she ordered. "I said, are you folks okay out there? You've been sitting still for a long time. We have repair tools and spare parts if you need help." Ara's skin changed to a deep purple color that showed complete bewilderment. The human was offering to help them, on the day their tribute deadline expired, as if nothing important had happened. "No assistance required," Ara finally replied. "Continue with your business." "Okay then, safe travels." The human ship continued toward the mining station. Similar scenes played out across human space. Council observation ships watched human farmers plant new crops. They monitored human scientists conducting experiments on distant worlds. They tracked human exploration vessels heading toward unexplored star systems. It was all completely normal. 3 more days passed. The Council fleet commanders sent daily reports back to headquarters. Each report said the same thing. Humans were going about their lives as if the most powerful political organization in the galaxy did not exist. On the 4th day, Chancellor called another emergency session. This time, only the senior leadership attended. 12 beings sat around a circular table in the Council's most secure meeting room. "Opinions," the Chancellor said simply. General Thrax was first to speak. "They are mocking us. Every day we wait makes the Council look weak. Other species are starting to notice." "What do you mean?" asked Ambassador. 3 minor species have sent messages asking about their own tribute requirements. They want to reduce their annual payment. They are questioning why they pay anything at all. Word is spreading that the humans have refused to comply and nothing has happened to them. Keeper Ra's ancient voice spoke from her floating chair. Perhaps that is because nothing should happen to them. The room fell silent. Such words had never been spoken in a council meeting. "Explain yourself," Chancellor said carefully. "I have been studying human civilization for the past month," Ra continued. "They have an interesting history. Multiple times, entire populations have refused to obey authority they considered unjust. Sometimes they won, sometimes they lost, but they always maintained that authority requires consent." "Authority does not require consent," General Thrax growled. "Authority requires power." "Does it?" Ra asked. "We have power, we have fleets and weapons and 47 member species, yet one small race ignores us completely and our power seems insufficient." Speaker Hive Mind 7's multiple voices joined the conversation. "The collective has been analyzing the situation. We have intercepted millions of human communications. The tribute demand is never mentioned. It is as if we never spoke to them at all." "They must be discussing it privately," Ambassador insisted. No, we have monitored their private channels, their government meetings, their military briefings. They speak of crop rotations and trade agreements and entertainment programs. They discuss scientific discoveries and family gatherings and sports competitions. But they do not speak of us. Chancellor's crystalline body dimmed as he processed this information. Are you saying they have forgotten about us? Worse, Speaker HiveMind7 replied. They have decided we are not relevant to their lives. General Thrax slammed his armored fist on the table. Then we make ourselves relevant. We attack their worlds. We destroy their ships. We show them the consequences of defying the Council. And then what? Keeper Ra asked quietly. Then they submit, like every other species. Or they fight back, or they flee to unmapped regions of space, or they inspire other species to rebel. Ra paused. Or they continue to ignore us even while we destroy them. No species ignores destruction, Thrax argued. This species might, Speaker HiveMind7 said. Our psychological analysis suggests that humans would rather die as free beings than live as subjects. The debate continued for hours. Some members demanded immediate action. Others suggested negotiation. A few recommended studying human culture more carefully before making any decisions. In the end, Chancellor made a choice that surprised everyone. We will send a demonstration fleet, he announced. Not an invasion force, not an attack, simply a show of strength. 50 capital ships will take position in human space. We will make our presence impossible to ignore. And if they continue to ignore us, asked Ambassador, then we will learn something new about the nature of power. The orders were sent that same day. Admiral Z, the Council's most experienced fleet commander, was given command of the demonstration force. His instructions were clear. Make the Council's presence known, but do not attack unless attacked first. 3 days later, the fleet arrived at the edge of human space. 50 massive warships, each one larger than a human city. Their weapons were powered down but visible. Their shields were active but not aggressive. They arranged themselves in a formation that could be seen from every human world in the system. The message was clear: we are here, we are watching, respond to us. Admiral Z waited for panic on human worlds. He expected emergency sessions of their government. He anticipated calls for surrender or desperate attempts at negotiation. Instead, he received a polite message from Earth Traffic Control. Unknown fleet, welcome to the Sol system. Please be aware that you are currently blocking shipping lane 7. Commercial traffic will be rerouting around your position. Please contact us if you need navigational assistance. The Admiral stared at his communication screen. He was commanding the largest military force ever assembled in human space. His ships could destroy every human world within hours. And they were being treated like a traffic problem. Captain Santos of the merchant ship was making her regular supply run to the Mars colonies when she saw the enormous alien fleet. She changed course slightly to avoid their position, just as she would steer around an asteroid or space station. As her ship passed the flagship, she opened a general communication channel. Morning, folks. Beautiful day for flying, isn't it? Hope you enjoy your visit to our neighborhood. Admiral Z listened to the cheerful human voice and realized something that chilled him more than any threat or challenge could have. The humans were not afraid of him. They were not angry with him. They were not even particularly interested in him. To the humans, the most powerful military fleet in galactic history was just another group of visitors to ignore. The demonstration had become something else entirely. It had become proof that the Council's greatest weapon, the fear of their power, had no effect on this strange species at all. Captain Ra had always been good with patterns. As a young officer in the Council Intelligence Division, she had discovered 3 different spy networks by noticing small changes in communication traffic. Now, as she watched human transmissions from her monitoring station, something felt wrong. The messages looked normal: trade schedules between colonies, entertainment broadcasts from Earth, scientific papers about new discoveries, but there was something underneath the ordinary words that bothered her. Computer, analyze transmission patterns from human space over the last 60 days, she ordered. Her ship's artificial intelligence began sorting through millions of messages. Charts and graphs appeared on her screen, showing the flow of information between human worlds. Pattern analysis complete. No unusual activity detected. Ra frowned. Her instincts were rarely wrong. She tried a different approach. Computer, compare current human communication patterns with patterns from before our first contact. New charts appeared. These looked almost identical to the first ones. No significant changes detected, the computer reported. But Ra noticed something the computer had missed. The message frequencies were too consistent. Real communication networks had small, random variations, people sending messages at different times, some days busier than others. But human transmissions followed patterns that were almost mathematical in their precision. Computer, analyze the mathematical structure of human transmissions. This time, the computer took longer to respond. When it finished, Ra stared at the results in amazement. Hidden encryption detected. Encoding found in 73% of analyzed transmissions. Steganography, the art of hiding secret messages inside normal-looking communications. The humans had been sending encoded messages all along, hidden inside their everyday transmissions. Ra immediately contacted Admiral Z on the flagship. Within hours, the Council's best codebreakers were working to decrypt the hidden messages. It took them 3 days. What they found changed everything. The first decoded message was a shipping manifest from a mining colony. Hidden inside the normal cargo information was a complete technical analysis of Council ship designs. The humans had used sensor data from their first meeting to reverse engineer everything from engine capabilities to weapon systems. The second message was a scientific paper about crop rotation. Embedded in the agricultural data was a detailed political analysis of every Council member species. The humans knew which races were allies, which were rivals, and which were only held in the Council by fear. The third message was an entertainment broadcast. Hidden in the music and video files was a comprehensive economic study of Council trade networks. The humans had mapped every important resource flow, every critical supply line, every financial dependency between member worlds. Admiral Z read the decoded intelligence reports with growing alarm. In just 2 months of observation, the humans had learned more about the Council than some member species knew after centuries of membership. But the most disturbing discovery was yet to come. Lieutenant N, a young analyst, discovered the final layer of hidden messages. These were not technical analyses or political studies. They were operational plans. "Sir," he reported to the Admiral, "you need to see this immediately." The operational plans were unlike anything in the Council's military database. The humans were not planning to fight the Council. They were not preparing to surrender. Instead, they had created something the Council had never encountered, a plan for systematic disappearance. If attacked, human colonies would go dark. Their ships would scatter to unmapped regions beyond the galactic rim. Their entire civilization would fade into the vast, unexplored spaces between star systems, leaving no trace behind. "They call it the Silent Protocol," Lieutenant N explained. "Every human ship, every colony, every outpost has received these instructions. If the Council attacks, they simply vanish." Admiral Z studied the plans carefully. They were brilliant in their simplicity. Humans would not waste resources fighting an enemy they could not defeat. Instead, they would remove themselves from the equation entirely. "But how do they survive in unmapped space?" the Admiral asked. "They have been preparing for years, sir, long before we made contact. They call it the Pioneer Initiative. Exploration vessels have been mapping hidden routes through dark nebulae and empty space. Supply stations have been built in systems that do not appear on our charts. They have been planning to disappear since the day they first reached the stars." The Admiral felt a chill run through his body. The humans had not been ignoring the Council out of disrespect or ignorance. They had been preparing to make the Council irrelevant to their existence. But there was one more discovery that shook the Council's leadership even more than the disappearance plan. Deep in the communication data, the analysts found evidence of contact with non-Council species. The humans had been quietly reaching out to independent worlds, frontier colonies, and unaligned races across the galaxy. They were not offering military alliances or trade agreements. Instead, they were sharing something far more dangerous: ideas. Speaker HiveMind 7 analyzed the communications between humans and other species. The conversations were philosophical rather than political. Humans discussed concepts like self-determination, voluntary cooperation, and governance by consent rather than force. They are spreading a new way of thinking, Speaker HiveMind7 reported to the emergency leadership meeting. They are teaching other species that they do not have to accept council authority. Chancellor's crystalline body flickered with patterns of deep concern. How many species have they contacted? At least 30 independent worlds, 12 frontier colonies, 6 unaligned trading confederations, and 3 council member species. The room fell silent. Contact with council member species was a direct challenge to galactic law. Which member species? General Thrax demanded. The Harmony Worlds, the Eastern Collective, and the Free Merchant Union. All 3 groups have histories of resistance to council policies. Ambassador realized the true scope of what was happening. They are not trying to leave the galaxy, they are trying to change it. Exactly, Keeper Ra said softly. The humans have been demonstrating an alternative to our system of government. They show other species that authority requires consent, not just power. And it is working, Speaker HiveMind7 added. 6 independent worlds have stopped sending the voluntary tribute payments they made to gain council protection. 4 frontier colonies have declared themselves neutral in all council conflicts. 2 trading groups have announced that they will no longer recognize council jurisdiction over their internal affairs. General Thrax stood up angrily. This is rebellion. We must crush it before it spreads further. How? Asked Keeper Ra. If we attack the humans, they disappear. If we attack the other species, we prove their point that we rule only through force. Either way, we lose. Chancellor dimmed his crystalline body as he considered their options. For 8,000 years, the Council had maintained order through a simple principle: comply or face destruction. But the humans had found a third option: ignore the system entirely. What do the humans want from us? He asked finally. Ambassador had been studying the decoded messages for hours. Nothing, he replied. They want nothing from us at all. They do not seek to join the Council. They do not want to conquer us. They do not even want to negotiate with us. Then what do they want? To be left alone, and to leave others alone to choose their own path. The simple answer contained a revolution that threatened everything the Council represented. If species could simply choose not to participate in the galactic order, if authority required consent rather than just superior firepower, then the entire system would change. Admiral Z sent a final report from his demonstration fleet. The humans continue to ignore our presence. Their ships fly normal routes around our formation. Their communications remain polite but distant. They treat us like any other obstacle to navigate around. For the first time in galactic history, a show of force had accomplished nothing at all. The Council's greatest weapon, fear of their power, had no effect on a species that simply refused to acknowledge that power as legitimate. In the vast silence of space, humanity had found their voice, and it was speaking to the entire galaxy. The crisis began with a single message. The Free Merchant Union, a council member species for over 2,000 years, sent a formal communication to Chancellor. It was brief and polite. The Free Merchant Union hereby withdraws from all tribute obligations to the Galactic Council. We will continue peaceful trade relationships with all species, but we no longer recognize Council authority over our internal affairs. We wish you well in your future endeavors. Within days, similar messages arrived from other member species. The Eastern Collective announced they would govern themselves. The Harmony Worlds declared neutrality in all Council conflicts. 3 frontier sectors simply stopped responding to Council communications entirely. Chancellor called emergency session after emergency session, but each meeting brought worse news. The tribute system was collapsing, not through violence or rebellion, but through simple non-participation. It is the human influence, General Thrax reported to the Leadership Council. Every species that has withdrawn from our authority has had contact with human representatives. What did the humans offer them? Asked Ambassador. Nothing. That is what makes this so dangerous. They offered no military protection, no trade benefits, no technology. They simply showed these species that they could choose to govern themselves. Keeper Ra spoke from her floating chair. Perhaps it is time to speak with the humans directly, not as superiors demanding tribute, but as equals seeking understanding. The suggestion was radical. The Council had never treated any species as equals during first contact, but desperate times called for new approaches. Ambassador volunteered for the mission. This time, he would not go to Luna Station with a fleet of ships and a crowd of Council representatives. This time, he would go to Earth alone. The blue-green planet looked peaceful as his small ship approached. No weapons locked onto his vessel. No defense fleets moved to intercept him. Human traffic control simply gave him landing coordinates at a spaceport in Geneva, Switzerland. Secretary General met him at the landing pad. She wore a simple gray suit and carried no guards, no advisors, no signs of official power. Just a small woman with gray hair and calm brown eyes. "Ambassador," she said with a slight bow, "welcome to Earth." "Secretary General, thank you for agreeing to meet with me." They walked through the spaceport together. Humans passed by without staring or showing fear. A few children pointed at its alien appearance, but their parents simply smiled and continued about their business. "Your people do not seem concerned about my presence," observed. "Should they be?" asked. "I represent the Galactic Council. In the past, my arrival would have caused panic or celebration or at least curiosity. Our news services reported that a council representative was visiting. Most people found it mildly interesting, but not personally relevant to their daily lives. They entered a small near the spaceport, ordered coffee for herself and tea for the ambassador. The other customers glanced at them briefly, then returned to their conversations about sports and weather and local politics. "I need to understand what your people want," said once they were seated. "That is simple. We want to live our lives according to our own choices." "But what about galactic civilization? What about order and stability?" Sipped her coffee thoughtfully. "We believe civilization comes from voluntary cooperation, not from forced submission to authority. The Council has maintained peace for 8,000 years. The Council has prevented wars between its member species. That is not the same thing as creating peace. It is more like managing a prison." Skin shifted to a confused yellow. "I do not understand the distinction." "Peace that comes from fear of punishment is not real peace. It is just postponed conflict. Real peace comes when people choose to work together because they believe it benefits everyone. But someone must have authority to settle disputes, to make decisions, to maintain order." "Yes," agreed, "but that authority should come from the consent of the people being governed. The Council rules through force. We prefer systems where leaders must earn the right to lead." Studied the human woman across from him. She spoke with calm certainty, as if her ideas were obvious truths rather than revolutionary concepts. "What about species that choose badly? What about worlds that start wars or commit terrible crimes? Then other species can choose not to associate with them. Trade agreements can be canceled. Diplomatic relationships can be ended. Social pressure can be very powerful when it comes from free choice rather than imposed law. And if that is not enough, if violence must be used, then it should be used by those who choose to use it, not by an authority that claims the right to make that choice for others." Realized he was hearing something completely new in galactic history. Every species he had ever encountered accepted the idea that the strong should rule the weak. Even rebellious species fought to become strong enough to rule others. But humans rejected the entire concept of rule by strength. "Your species has caused great disruption to the galactic order," he said. "We have shown other species that the galactic order is a choice, not a necessity," replied. "Some species choose to maintain their relationship with the Council. Others choose to try different approaches. Both choices are valid. But if every species makes its own choices, there will be chaos." Will there be diversity?" Leaned forward. "Look around this, ambassador. Do you see chaos? Do you see people fighting or competing for dominance?" Looked at the humans around them. They were talking quietly, reading, working on portable computers. A few were playing games with their children. It was peaceful and orderly without any visible authority figure. "I see cooperation," he admitted. "Exactly. Humans are capable of organizing themselves without someone ruling over them. We believe other species are capable of the same thing. The Council leadership will not accept this easily. There are those who want to use force against your worlds. We know we have contingency plans. Yes, the silent protocol. Our analysts decoded your communications. showed no surprise. We assumed you would eventually. We do not keep military secrets because we do not consider you our enemy. Even though we threaten your people, you threaten our submission to your authority. That is not the same as threatening our people. Spent the rest of the day learning about human civilization. He visited their government buildings, which had no guards and were open to public visitors. He saw their courts, where disputes were settled by panels of ordinary citizens. He observed their schools, where children learned to think for themselves rather than simply obey authority. It was alien to everything he understood about how societies functioned, but it worked. When evening came, they sat in his office overlooking Lake Geneva. The setting sun painted the water in shades of gold and red. "What happens now?" asked. "That depends on the council's choice," replied. "You can try to maintain the old system through force. You can adapt the system to include voluntary participation, or you can let the system change naturally as species choose their own paths. And if we choose force, then you will rule over empty space. The species that want freedom will find it, one way or another. The species that prefer strong authority will stay with the council. The galaxy will be divided and everyone will be for it. And if we choose to adapt, then we can explore new ways of organizing galactic civilization, ways based on cooperation rather than domination, ways that allow for different systems to coexist peacefully." Looked out at the peaceful lake and made his decision. "I will carry your words back to the council." As his ship lifted off from Earth the next morning, Ambassador thought about everything he had seen and heard. The humans had shown him something he had never imagined, a civilization based on choice rather than force. 6 months later, the Galactic Council announced sweeping reforms. Tribute would become voluntary. Member species could choose their level of participation. New forms of cooperation would be explored. Some species embraced the changes. Others left the council entirely. A few tried to maintain the old system of forced compliance and found themselves increasingly isolated. The galaxy began to reorganize itself around new principles. In the vast silence of space, human ships continued their quiet expansion into unexplored regions. Their crews hummed old Earth songs and discussed the philosophical implications of first contact with species that had never heard of the Galactic Council. Behind them, the established order of the galaxy transformed, not through revolution or war, but through the simple, profound power of alternative example. Humanity had spoken to the universe without saying a word. And the universe had listened.